Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got distracted a little bit longer than I had planned to, and hopefully this video is going to work out. I'm going live while driving through the mountains. So if it doesn't work, just somebody let me know, so that way I can just record and and maybe the thrill, not really, anything else. Maybe some scrap or something like that. And then somebody else had mentioned what Fenn had meant when he said that he felt like an architect. And I wish I could talk about that, but bottom line is I just don't know. Is this coming in choppy for anybody? I got pretty wide open road, so you're in and out now. Okay. Well, crap. So it's not a clear picture. It's breaking in and out. I'm literally like in the mountains. So, okay. All right. Well, crap. Sorry for pulling all of you guys in here. I'll probably just end up recording it on my phone, and then just uploading it, as I drive or something like that. So. Getting better, yeah, but it's probably going to get worse too until I get past the mountains. And all right, okay, so just I'll try to keep my eye on it. If it loses sound or if it's just cutting out completely or whatever, please somebody let me know. Joe, maybe you can shoot me an email or whatever. I don't know if you plan on sticking around the whole time, but somebody just shoot me an email in case I don't see it on here if it cuts out. So yeah, my plan is to just talk Fenn crap, since that seems to be the only thing that I ever really think about, especially when I'm on these long drives. I gotta be honest though, I've I gotta be honest, I've kind of fallen off the whole Fenn thing a little bit. I don't know if it's just the holidays or taking a break or whatever, but three weeks ago I came home and I sat down with the poem and I got to looking at it, and I had a click, something just connected in my mind, and I legitimately started bawling. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but I was freaking out. I was telling my wife, I'm like, we gotta go now. We already had plans to go to Michigan. I'm like, nope, we're going out west. We're gonna go get the treasure, yada yada, so on and so forth. I've had sensible solves before, or stuff that seemed to make sense, and I guess you could be confident about it. But this one, I don't know if you guys remember when the lottery was like $1.7 billion, and I'm sure some of you guys, if you ever played the lottery, you kind of imagined what you would do with the money, like, oh man, if I won, I would do this, I would do that. But that's just imagining what you would do with the money. I had the legitimate feeling of, holy crap, I just won the lotto. I can't even, words can't even explain it. And I was like, crap, this is what Fenn meant when he said, we'll have studied the poem over and over and would walk right to it. Because other solutions that I've had, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense, all this makes sense. And this time was completely different. Am I right or not? I don't know, but I was ready to pack my bags and head out the door and not go to Michigan for vacation. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more time to think on it, and I really can't even. There's no way to explain the feeling that I felt. My wife, she was like, she said, she's like, I was concerned for you because I thought you were I thought you were freaking out. I was like, I was freaking out. I'd solved the poem, like, we gotta go. But I don't know. I'm assuming, you know, if I'm not right, if that solution isn't right, then whoever does finally solve it, I'm assuming that that's the feeling that they're gonna have right there. It was like, I don't know, I just hit the freaking jackpot on a freaking slot machine or something like that. But anyways, I just want to get that little rant. So yeah, that kind of has happened. I fell off the Fenn wagon for a little bit, had a solution that made me freak out, took a little break from it, and now here I am again. But it's kind of nice because I'm coming in it with a clear head. So now I just plan on just doing some car drive rants that are hopefully helpful to some stuff, or to some people, might click a light bulb or something. But so using, the first thing I want to talk about is using the poem, only the poem, right? Disregarding, you know, any other books that Fenn mentions in the, you know, in the Thrill of the Chase, you know, the Outlaw Trail, The Great Gatsby, what's the other one, Catcher in the Rye, you know, just completely disregarding that stuff and just using the poem. Fenn has told us a bunch of times that everything that we need to solve it is in the poem. So that tells me that we only need the poem, right? But then Fenn has also told us that we need the poem and a good map. All right, so you know, he's kind of gotta help us out on this. Do we need the poem and a good map, or do we just need the poem, right? And then if you go back to one of the 6 questions with Jenny Kyle, I think it was in 2013, I believe. You know, the question was, are you happy? Did you anticipate this outcome when you had designed the chase? And Fenn had said something along the lines of, like, you know, I'm very happy with how the chase has turned out, thanks to those two notorious authors or whatever, or those book reviewers, you know, giving it an honorable mention, and that's what gained its momentum, blah blah blah. And then he says, what I didn't anticipate was the amount of people downloading Google Earth and using Google Maps. But he literally just told us that we need the poem and a good map. People only use, for the most part, right? People don't have topo maps sitting around their house. Well, some people have 1,000 of them, but that's all on you guys. But so people are using 2 things, right? Google Earth and Google Maps. So why would Fenn make that comment? You know, there's no way he didn't anticipate people using Google Earth and Google Maps. Just like he wrote the poem specifically for that, right? And this is why he feels like an architect. And I'm gonna get to that in a little bit too, maybe, unless I get sidetracked or whatever. But he worked so long on that poem and wanted to make it difficult but not impossible. And the way that he did that was by freaking using stuff that there is hundreds of. Look at all the browns and freaking canyons and hot springs and everything else. You know, this was all intentional, right? And that's why nobody can solve it, but people have gotten close, but nobody's solving it. It's because, you know, it's anybody's guess. Even Forrest said, people aren't gonna know if they solved the correct first clue. People won't know that they've guessed the correct first clue until they have the treasure in hand. And for the longest time, I thought that, I was like, what a dumb comment to make. Like, of course nobody's going to know if they were right unless they find the treasure. But there's more to it than that, right? It's more than, okay, when somebody's missing something, right? They're looking for something. And and somebody makes the comment of, I bet it's in the last place that you're gonna look. Well, no shit, it's gonna be in the last place that you looked, because the last place that you looked is the place that you found it, so it's the last spot. But he's doing something similar to that, but opposite. He's starting at the beginning, right? People won't know that they have guessed the correct first clue until they found the treasure. And really, it's deeper than that, right? And it's deeper than that because there is so many Warm Waters Halt, Canyon Downs, Browns. And that's why it took him so long to write the poem, is he needed to find stuff that was just so common and abundant and just freaking everywhere. So we're definitely missing something. You know, somebody said, you know, what are searchers getting wrong? What are searchers getting wrong and not being able to find the right where warm waters halt? Well, Forrest has told us that there's a word that is key in the poem, right? And that word that is key may be the thing that allows us to decipher where warm waters halt. And remember, if we don't have that, then we might as well stay at home and play canasta. So there's a word that is key. There's something in the poem that will indicate to us the correct where warm waters halt. But somehow we are supposed to move with confidence and go right straight to it, but not really know for sure if we've guessed the correct first clue until we found the treasure. And now we're like, yep, my first clue was correct. So if somebody doesn't know that they have solved the correct first clue until they have the chest in hand, then how the heck do they move with confidence? And that's the biggest thing, right? I believe Forrest when he says all the information that we need is in the poem, right? But I believe that we are reading it wrong. We are, you know, Forrest says don't oversimplify, and he says don't overcook it. And I think by us reading it so literally, we're oversimplifying. I think the trick is to find your spot, right? Your where warm waters halt, and you use the other stuff in the poem to tighten it up, you know, for you to confirm that, hey, this is the right one. But again, you won't know until you've gone right to it. So talking about, I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. All right, somebody says big picture. Try to look at the big picture. Well, what's the big picture? The big picture is the entirety of the poem, right? And then probably the entirety of the search area, right? The big picture could be the entirety of freaking life, right? From start to finish or whatever. I can make that poem match up perfectly with life and death, or, you know, starting from in the womb until freaking in the grave. And, you know, and it really makes sense when you consider that Forrest said try to look at the big picture. But I think that the poem is telling us to do something more. It's telling us we're taking it too literal. We're trying to go to an exact spot, and from that exact spot, we're trying to freaking follow the clues or whatever. So Forrest talks about, you know, pioneers and whatnot, and, you know, fur trappers and so on and so forth in the book. Well, realistically, that is the way that Fenn's poem is written, is kind of how they used to give directions, right? For the rendezvous or whatever. They're like, yeah, you're going to begin where warm waters halt and take it down in the canyon, and, you know, not too far, or not far, but too far to walk from there's Brown's home, and, you know, it's kind of a pain or whatever, or, you know, there's some aggressive people that live in that, you know, whatever, and you're just explaining through it. So I think that there's that aspect, but there's also another aspect, right? What if begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk, period, put in below the home of ground, period, that's where the treasure is, okay? And from there, it's no place for the meek. And what I mean by that is, somebody that's meek might suffer from a lack of confidence or low self-esteem or whatever. So if we find our spot where we begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, the treasure is put in below the home of ground, and we just solved the poem, right? And then we go from there. It's no place for the meek. You're seeing it for the first time. You're like, oh crap, I gotta go, right? Don't sit there and second guess yourself, or don't sit there and not be confident or not be unconfident, and actually just go, right? The end is ever drawing nigh. The end is like you're almost done with the treasure hunt, right? And you're almost done with the solve and with physical, like on the ground, going to get the treasure. There will be no paddle up your creek, right? What creek? The creek that you had narrowed down from where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. He's telling you what it is. He's narrowing that type of stuff down so we can narrow it down. Just heavy loads and water high. Heavy loads and water high could be referring to geological features, you know. It could be a freaking waterfall. It could be your freaking the pressure that's on you, the freaking, you know, the tears that are rolling because you freaking figured it out. You're like you're overwhelmed with joy, right? And people have figured out the first two clues, right? And Fenn has specifically said this. He said people become, too distracted by the subsequent clues. People have solved the first two clues and have been within 200 feet of the treasure and have gone right past it because they were distracted by the other clues, right? So how do we get distracted by other clues? Let's say we figure out a place where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk, put in below the home of ground, right? Let's say that's where the treasure's at. And we get distracted by the other clues because we see something that can line up with no place for the meek on a good map instead of relating it to us, right? To how we think right now at the time, or before we even head off, right? That's for you. No place for the meek is for you to not be unconfident. It's to freaking get up and go get it. That we're drawing nigh, that's Forrest telling you, like, hey, you are almost done. Like good job so far, right? You're almost there. Keep going, and so on and so forth. So logically, or the way that I see it, if you were to ask me where the treasure is at, I would say that the treasure is where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, and that it's put in below the home of ground. Right there is the treasure. And everybody else that has been within near proximity, they see a place called Mount Meeker, or, you know, the location of Joe Meek, or blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So they go to that spot, and then they're like, oh, there's a creek, so they go to that spot. Oh, there's freaking a bunch of boulders over there, so they go to that spot, and they walk right past it. You know, and we've kind of been asking all along, how can somebody solve the first two clues and walk right past it unless it's in a circle, right? Or unless all the clues are on top of each other. Well, in a way, all the clues are on top of each other, but I don't think that they are locations. I think some are locations, but I think it takes some work to figure it out. And Forrest said, I want you to listen to this closely. Searchers will not know that they've guessed the correct first clue until they have the treasure. So, people will not know that they've guessed the correct first clue. That tells me that there are multiple first clues. Okay, stick with me. I know it sounds confusing. There are multiple first clues. We have to guess the correct one, right? And how should I word? Let me put it in this context, right? We know that the first clues begin at where warm water's halt, right? But Forrest said there are lots of warm water. However he says it. There's a bunch of warm water in the Rocky Mountains, and nearly all of them north of Santa Fe. Try to look at the big picture, right? So he tells us there's a shit ton of warm waters. That's the first clue. Warm water, warm water, warm water, warm water, all the way across the board. But we have to guess the correct one. And then we have to go to that. But we won't know if we've guessed the correct where warm waters halt until we go and find the treasure. But we can know if we can have a good idea if we have the right one by looking at the rest of what's in the poem, right? The rest of what's in the poem along with the hints that are in the book. Forrest said that the hints that are in the book are not going to lead you to the treasure, but they will help you solve the clues. So the hints in the book are probably ways to narrow down the correct where warm water's halt, take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, put it in below the home of ground, boom, treasure. It's right there. That's just my opinion. And what is a good map? What is a good map anyways? I feel like I know what a good map is, but I'm not gonna freaking broadcast that all over. I know it's a dick move, talk about it and then not do anything with it. But there's a reason why Forrest told us that all the information that we need is in the poem, and then later on he says all you need is the poem and a good map. A child may have a better chance at solving or finding the treasure. Don't ask for that. Well, why does a possibility that a child could have a better chance at finding the treasure? Well, it's because children have imagination. What do adults have? We have knowledge. What is this? Alright, I'm assuming I'm back on now. Somebody let me know, like, the last place that I had left off or something. So, anyway, I'm just going to go on. I'm going to assume that I'm recording because my clock is still going. We have adults are using this knowledge that it's getting in our way, right? And Forrest told us that imagination is more important than knowledge, right? So he's saying you really need to have imagination in order to resolve this, to locate a good map, and use it to find the treasure. I know it sounds like the same thing that we already knew, but I'm saying it different. I'm saying it different, but it comes out the same. Perfect example, okay? Imagination is more important than knowledge. Fenn decided to share with us a little video, right? And for the longest time, I wondered, like, why the hell did he do that? And nobody really knew. Like, sure, it was an interesting video, but we didn't really know what it was about or why he decided to hide it or to show it to us. And that is that backwards bicycle, right? So this guy, if you haven't seen it yet, this guy, he works somewhere, and his buddies, or this guy's an engineer, or his buddies are engineers or something, I don't remember, but they took a bike and they welded it backwards. Right, not the bike's not backwards, the steering wheel is backwards. So when you turn left, the wheel goes right. And when you turn right, the wheel goes left. And he could not ride this bike, like, at all. He tried, kept falling. You know, and we had always heard the saying, you know, it's like riding a bike. Once you know, you never forget. So this guy, he tried riding this bike, and he couldn't do it, and he couldn't do it, and he couldn't do it. It took him 8 months. It took him 8 months to learn how to ride the bike. But when he first tried it, when he first got on the bike, he said, I could do that, no problem. Couldn't even make it an inch, right? We did the same thing with the poem. Begin at where warm waters halt, take it in the canyon down, home of brown, boom. I know what home of brown is. I'm going there. And failed, and failed, and failed. And we studied the poem over and over, and failed, and failed. And we studied the poem over and over, and failed some more. Now, in this video, one day, it just clicked. He was sitting there, like, doing his little wiggle deal, and all of a sudden just, and he ends up riding it. Just smooth as could be. You could literally watch, like the light bulb flick off in this dude's head once he finally was able to ride the bike. And it was like, it was almost as, it kind of seemed like he was faking, you know. 1 second he was falling on his face and failing attempt after attempt, and the next time he's riding like a damn pro. So he rode the bike around, he brought it to some conventions and stuff, and you just gotta Google backwards bicycle. So he brought it to some conventions and whatnot, and he had people come up there, right? Everybody said the same thing. I can do it, I can do it. I know for a fact I can do it, just like we all did with the poem. And he would offer people, you know, I'll give you 20 bucks, 50 bucks, I'll give you $100 if you can ride this bike freaking 10 feet. People couldn't do it. It looked so easy, but growing up, right, becoming an adult, getting this knowledge, thinking that we know everything, and not using imagination, it was getting in everybody's way of riding the bike, and the people had to relearn something that they spent their whole lives. People had to forget something that they spent their whole life learning. Think about that for a second. Right now, well, unless you've never learned how to ride a bike, but right now, imagine getting on a bike and just like that, forget how to ride it. You might be able to act like you forgot how to ride it, but I'm saying legitimately forget how to ride it. There's no way. Just like, you know, what we've learned throughout our education system and stuff that we've taught ourselves along this chase, and, you know, life experiences and freaking, you know, wisdom that we've gained and knowledge that we've gained, and you can't unlearn that. You can't just forget it. So, anyways, he ends up going to Amsterdam, right? Amsterdam's like huge in bicycles or something, and he asked some of his followers, hey, can somebody meet me at this location with a bike so I can ride it? Keep in mind, he had been riding the backwards bicycle, and now he's going to try to ride a normal bike. He went to go ride a normal bike, could not ride a normal bike, because now he had taught himself the knowledge of riding a backwards bike. So when he's turning left, he's expecting his steering wheel to go, or his handlebars to go right. When he's turning right, he's expecting his wheels to go left. And you know, he sits there, he's freaking wobbling and falling and everything else. And finally, he, you know, just like that, boom, it freaking clicks again. And he's good to go. Just all of a sudden, just like that. And and you can watch it. You can see the moment in time where he just has that aha moment. So for fun, his son was, I think, 3 or 4 years old now, or 3 or 4 years old, and he wanted to see if his son, who was just learning how to ride a bike, he wanted to learn how to ride a backwards bicycle. What took the adult 8 months took the child 2 weeks. 2 weeks to learn, because they haven't freaking been indoctrinated with all the, you know, the knowledge and whatnot, and the I know how to do that, and I know how to do that, and the cockiness of I can ride that. The little boy came at it from a fresh approach, just like I said. A child might have a better chance at finding the treasure. Don't ask me to explain that. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because Forrest shared that for a reason, okay? And I don't think anybody, like, really, and I didn't get it either. I was like, oh, cool video. Like, some people have, like, talked about this. Some people have talked about this video. But even me, I didn't make the connection until after I came up with my solve. Exactly what Forrest had been saying about this backwards bicycle freaking video that he decided to share with us. So he's, from the moment that he shared that, and even throughout his book, telling us imagination was more important than knowledge, telling us maybe a child has a better chance at finding the treasure, you know, get out there and turn a log over, telling us to act like kids. Pretty much that's what he's been doing, sharing this backwards bicycle, freaking letting us know. He's been telling us this whole time, like, you guys need to forget what you know. And we haven't been doing that. That's why we're associating warm waters with hot springs, with New Mexico state borders, with freaking, where freaking hot spring meets regular river or whatever, and right there it's warm and it stops there, and we just need to stop. We need to stop. It's not right. I mean, I don't think it's right. But literally everything that Forrest has been telling in everything else that he's been telling us, after I came up with a solution, and I know I just sound like one of those other freaking arrogant people that are like, my solve's right, my solve's right. I'm not saying mine's right. I'm just saying, after I came up with the solution, the stuff started making a hell of a lot more sense. Now the answers that Forrest gives don't seem so ridiculous to me. They don't seem so freaking like backpedaling and trying to avoid the question. And well, you guys know, for you guys that have watched my videos this whole time, or since I've started pretty much, I always talked about how Forrest quotes never made any sense, or how he would go out his way to bring something up even if the conversation wasn't heading that direction. But it has all been by design. It blows my mind how crafty he is with this. He's like a goddamn word wizard or something. And I don't even want to call it, I don't want to call it wordplay, because I really don't think, I wouldn't call it wordplay. Wordplay would be something more of like a cryptic crossword or something, you know, like, I'm horrible at cryptic crosswords. If you look them up, you'll see what I mean. That's what I would consider wordplay, or, you know, like clever little raps and rhymes and stuff like that. I would consider that wordplay. But this, what Fenn does is different. It's like, it's so obvious right in your face that you can't even make sense of it. You're like, what is this dude talking about? but he's telling us something every time. You know, particularly with that. Okay, think of it this way, right? Imagine what I said about the beginning where warm water salt, take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk, put it in below the home of Brown, period. Right there is where the treasure's at, okay? So, right now, saying that the treasure is in the first stanza, and taking into consideration that there are many warm waters, and nearly all of them north of Santa Fe, try to look at the big picture, okay? Think of that. So we got the treasure in the first stanza, many warm waters. Now think of, searchers will not know that they've guessed the correct first clue until they found the treasure. Searchers will not know that they've guessed the correct first clue until they found the treasure. Now, I feel like, to me, I don't know, maybe because, I don't know, maybe I'm just woke as, no, I'm just kidding. But it makes a lot more sense. Now think of it before that. Searchers won't know that they've guessed the correct first clue until they found the treasure. Or we're all like, no shit, Sherlock. You know, that's how I felt. I'm like, yeah, where's my keys? But it's in the last place you'll think to look. Well, I know, because that's when I'll freaking find them. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. And yeah, I don't think that there's anything. I don't think there's anything mind-blowing about the poem. I really don't. You know, I used to think like, oh, he's talking about events, he's talking about this, he's talking about that, blah, blah, blah. I have to chase all these freaking rabbit holes, yada, yada. Oh, there's this layer and this layer. It's not. It's not. It's super, super simple. It is like blatantly obvious, smack you in your face simple. Hold on a second, guys. Alright, everybody got me now? Hopefully. You rolled this car. No, I didn't. But, alright. I have no idea where I'm going. But there was more to it. There's more stuff to it than that, right? So now, where am I going with it? Alright, is everybody understanding what I'm saying so far? Or I know sometimes I just talk in these circles and it just sounds like the same thing that we've always been saying, but it's like it has more clarity to me type deal until I go to say it, and then it just sounds like the exact same thing that we've been saying all along. But like I said, I think it's how do I want to put it? It's so easy that it is or seemingly impossible. It is so imaginative that knowledge won't get you anywhere. It's so simple that it feels like you're taking a gamble by going for it. And I think that that's why Forrest says it's no place for the meek. You know, and it's like, just like everything, you know, everything was present tense, present tense, present tense, and then if you've been wise and found, you know, I'm not gonna explain that far in depth, but it's a poem towards the clues, and it's a poem to the reader. All right, now what do I think all this was for? Hold on. All right, hold on. I want to get to the architect thing. So the reason why Forrest felt like an architect while making this poem is for the exact reasons that I just said. So you look up the definition architect, right? And it brings up the inventor or creator of something new and not yet known, or something like that. I'm not sure if anybody has stopped and Googled, has got onto Google and Googled architect definition, but it's on Google, if you read the second one, right, and then it gives a list of synonyms, right, and one of those synonyms is mastermind, and that it just explains, it sums this all up right now. I don't think, okay, I was gonna pull it up, but I obviously can't. It's probably not safe for me too, but if somebody wouldn't mind, or actually, while you guys are watching this, just hop onto Google frickin' architect definition, and you'll see what I'm talking about, right? Don't read the first one where it's talking about a builder, right? Sure, he built the poem, right? He constructed this poem. Sure, I'll call it a constructed poem, because he constructed it. But it's the ideas. It's the definition that's relating to ideas, and I don't know, I wish I had the definition memorized. So that's why I think Forrest said that he felt like an architect. What was for that second definition right there on Google, the second definition that's given, the second noun definition on Google. Now, why do this, right? So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? Well, we all know that Forrest, he hid his treasure in a special place, right? Hid his treasure in a special place. And we also know that he has said that the person that finds the treasure probably won't know why it's special, why it was so special to him. Okay? We also know that the special place where he hid his treasure, that nobody knows why it's special, is also where he wanted to be buried. Okay? Now we also know that there was a tourism video made of New Mexico that talked about freaking how if he was standing where the treasure was, he'd see mountains, he'd see trees, he'd see animals, he'd smell the fresh smells of pine needles or pinyon nuts and sagebrush, and he knows that the treasure is wet. And then at the end he says, I've answered a lot of your questions. Some of them I haven't, but I have to admit there's one thing that I said that I wish I wouldn't have. At the beginning of that interview, he said that the best treasure that he ever found was when he was 17 years old and was a girl named Peggy Jean Proctor. Okay? That's his treasures. That's his riches. Okay? So he wants to be buried in a place that's special to him. A place that's special to him that nobody else will know why it's special. And it's so special that he wants to keep his secrets there. Okay? And you got to think about it, right? Where do you, if you're married, where are you expecting to be buried at? Right? You're expecting to be buried with your spouse, right? And it was his last dying breath that he was gonna, throw himself out and blah blah blah. Now, I can't seem to find it again, but if somebody knows what I'm talking about, if you could add it into the comments, it would be great. Forrest said something along the lines of, when the treasure is found, Peggy's gonna say, "I can't believe you hid it there." Okay, that's not a, I can't believe you hit it there. You know, like a disgust or annoyance or whatever. It is a romantic gesture, right? Like, I can't believe you hit it there. You know, like it's gonna touch a freaking, it's gonna remind her of a special spot too. Okay, and then at that moment, it's gonna all become apparent that this treasure hunt wasn't to leave behind a legacy. Well, it was in a way, but it was also meant to be like a romantic gesture towards Peggy to show how special that spot was to him that they had shared together. It's not Forrest's special spot. It is Forrest's and Peggy's special spot. And it's obviously a spot that they hold freaking near and dear, and maybe they just haven't been there in a long time. Maybe they forgot all about it. You know, what do older married couples talk about? You know, they talk about where they first met, the first date that they went on, the first kiss that they shared, so on and so forth, right? The small little things in life, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go any farther than that. You guys get what I'm saying, but I don't think it's that kind of, I don't think it's a V-card lost spot, right? I think it's went on a date, and it's a very special spot. And Forrest tells us in the book, right? I'm assuming the majority of you guys have The Thrill of the Chase, but there's the Ode to Peggy. Today I looked up in the sky and saw a sparrow flying by, or something like that, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's the Ode to Peggy. This is what that treasure hunt is. The treasure hunt was an ode to Peggy. The treasure hunt was a dedication to Peggy. The spot that is so special that he wanted to die there and have his bones rest there is a spot where he shared a special moment with Peggy. Peggy is going to say she can't believe that it was found there because it was special to them. So think about it, right? It's back in 1988. Forrest never got better, but he had every intention on hiding it still, right? Now a dead body, right? A dead body, you're going to come across that. People will come across that. A small 10-inch by 10-inch by 5-inch treasure chest, probably not so much, okay? So I'm saying that somebody would have came across Forrest's body, right? And the first thing that they're going to do is identify the body, and they are going to alert Peggy about their discovery. Okay, and Peggy is then going to want to come see the location. And Forrest, in doing that, Forrest is bringing her right back to their special spot. He's pretty much saying like, I think so much of you, and you are so special to me that I wanted to die in the place that I've held near and dear to me my entire life. You know, maybe Peggy forgot about it a little bit. You know, like people once you're married for, what did you say? Freaking 6 decades or something like that. They've been married or something like that. You know, that's a long time. So maybe over the course of time, she had forgotten about it, or they don't talk about it anymore, or whatever. And when she would come to that spot, she would be reminded of it, right? And of the times that they had, or whatever. Now, let's say I didn't know that, right? Well, I don't know it. I'm just guessing, right? But people tend to want to be buried near their spouses, right? And people tend to share special places with their spouses, and people tend to want to be buried somewhere special, or either somewhere special or with someone special. Now let's say that hold on, I was gonna word it a certain way and I don't really remember how, but either way, so okay, that's what I was gonna say. All right, so let's say I don't know any of that, and I'm just following the clues, and I end up at this spot, right? And I'm at this spot, and I'm looking around, and I'm kind of just like, it's probably pretty. Like, obviously, it probably looks good. It's in the mountains, right? That's why Forrest tells us, but Terry Scant with marble gaze. Okay, I always thought it was, stop, look, listen. If you heard my other videos, but listen to this, okay? We got a special spot. Imagine Peggy and Fenn on a picnic date or something in this beautiful spot, right? And for whatever reason, it becomes freaking special to them, right? Now that spot becomes even more beautiful because of the specialness or whatever, right? Now, people, like, if they're, like, let's say it's a date, it's obviously going to be, somewhere pretty. Like, if Forrest is trying to impress Peggy or something on, their first date or whatever, he's probably going to take her somewhere memorable, right? Somewhere that looks nice and is enjoyable to look at. Now, when we get there, we see the pretty sights, right? And we're like, yeah, it is pretty. It's the Rocky Mountains. It looks awesome. Not really sure why it's special. Yeah, that's because we didn't have the special moment at the pretty spot. So we see the beautiful forest, mountainous, blah, blah, so on and so forth, but not really know why it's special. Okay, now you listen to that part of the poem. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Now remember, I always thought that the treasure didn't end here. Okay, but I'm saying the treasure does end here. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. You found the treasure, but Terry Scant with marble gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. But Terry Scant with marble gaze, Fenn is telling us, he's not saying hurry up, pick it up and get out of there before someone sees you. He's saying, but wait a little bit and enjoy the scenery, and just admire and gaze and just stare at it. So not only he's giving an ode to Peggy about their special spot, but he's bringing new people to his special spot. And he talks about this. This just dawned on me. Remember, towards the end of the book, he talks about how, how new people had gone to the spots that he held so dear to them, and, how dare they do that. But as the summer ends and fall begins and the leaves fall and the new year starts, or whatever he says, he pretty much, he had these spots that he held near and dear to him. If you read the passage, these spots he held near and dear to him, and then he was pissed off that people were going to the spots that he thought were his alone. But then he has a maturity, then he matures a little bit, and then later on decides that it's okay. Like, it's okay that somebody shares my beautiful nature-esque scenery or whatever, picturesque scenery. Like, I'm fine with it. So he's giving an ode to Peggy for the treasure hunt. He's getting us, right? What was his whole intent? His whole intent with this freaking treasure hunt was to get families up and out and go and get up off the couch, away from electronics, and go enjoy the wilderness. right? Go enjoy the outdoors. And that's why Forrest is telling us, but Terry Scant with marvel gaze. But wait a little while. But wait a little bit and look around and really admire and stare intently and just, soak it all in. See why I love this place so much, why I love the mountains so much. The mountains continue to beckon me. My church is in the mountains where dreams and fantasies alike come to play. So on and so forth. I could probably keep going on. So he's been telling us the whole time. So now he's saying to wait a little bit, enjoy the scenery. We really want, I'm glad you found it. Here's your $2 million or whatever, but I accomplished my goal of getting you out, up off the couch and enjoying the scenery, right? So how about this, right? He says families. He doesn't say married couples. He doesn't say, young teens or whatever, married couples. He says, I wanted to get families up off the couch and away from the electronics and enjoy the wilderness. And obviously, with a line like, but Terry Scant with marvel gaze, that means it's at a beautiful sight. So what if it's not Forrest and Peggy, but rather an ode to his whole family, and it's a place where they would picnic at, or they would vacation, or they would spend time together and enjoy the wilderness together. And that's why he says that he aimed the treasure hunt towards any freaking redneck in Texas that has, $50 in his pocket and like 6 kids and whatever else that he says. Or that he wanted to get families up off the couch and enjoy the wilderness and, so on and so forth. So I really think Forrest is bringing us to his family, either him and his wife's oriented special spot or him and his whole family's oriented special spot, right? In his My War for Me, where he talks about getting cancer, he talks about how his family was there. They were with him and by him and next to him. And if you go back and read that passage, right, he's saying yes, like he's saying my family was there for me no matter what. They were there for me, they were with me, they were by me, if you read it, it's to the point where he's troubled. This is when they're nursing him back to health, right? When they're trying to get him to get better. And he noticed how much of a burden that it is putting on his family. And that's why he was going to end it. That's why he's seen his family going through all the trouble, all the trouble of taking care of him. And that's why he decided to do what he was going to do. He said, if I was going to die from cancer, I was going to do it on my own terms. And, pretty much he didn't want to weigh anybody's life down by them having to take care of him. So, that's where I'm at. The treasure is in the first stanza. The treasure is in the first stanza. A lot of the other ones are talking to us. No paddle up your creek is guiding you in. Same thing with heavy loads and water high. It's narrowing down around the spot. There's sections in the book that are going to help you freaking pinpoint it down. After you found the blaze and you look quickly down, you're going to find the treasure. Realistically, it's probably a capstone, or even more than that, probably a log, because Forrest talks so much about turning a log over. He mentions it all the time. So there's probably a hole in the ground or a little crevice or something like that at the location that's covered up with a log. That's why he says so much, turn a log over. And the spot that this is all at is in a spot that is very special to him because of the time that he has spent there with his wife and or kids. and it's just beautiful, which is why he wants you to wait around a little bit and, you know, soak in the scenery. And the location that it's at is the exact reason why he wanted to get families up off the couch and away from the electronics and out to enjoy the wilderness. So that's where I stand. So that puts me at about an hour mark. Hopefully I answered some questions. Where do warm waters halt? It's not gonna. Warm waters doesn't even matter. I don't think warm waters matters. Yeah, that's where I didn't go anywhere. I'm on Christmas block leave, or my Christmas vacation time from the military, and what an asshole. I hate when people do that. I went up to Michigan to spend some time there. I brought my cousin down with me to help me do some work on my house before I freaking moved to Kentucky. And then he's been down here for the last week with me, helping me repaint the house and laying hardwood floors. And I just drove 7 hours to freaking bring him back up to the halfway point where his mom's gonna pick him up. So it was cheaper than spending the $400 on a plane ticket. So, but as far as boots on the ground, I have one trip that brought me to about 6 different locations. That was this summer, and that was long before coming up with the solution right here. But the solve that I had, I've never even felt anything like that in my life. Like, I know that sounds so stupid. I hate when people are like, I know exactly where it's at. I get it, right? I'm one of those people right now. But, I don't know. It was like surreal. I legitimately freaked out. Like, it's like the poem freaking punched me in the face and was like, what's up? This is where the treasure's at. And then, yeah, I just lost my shit and freaking freaked out and have been thinking about it ever since. But yeah, other than that, gosh, I always forget to do this at the beginning of the video. Please do not forget to like my videos. Like, there's only 4 likes up there. I've been talking to you guys for like, I don't know, I feel like this is good content, you know? But at the same time, I don't know, who am I to say? Awesome. Thank you for the extra 3 people. I'm just giving you guys shit. But yeah, please like my video, subscribe. You know, I'm staying pretty steady right there at freaking like 300. It'd be nice to see that grow a little bit. And then, yeah, like I mentioned in my other videos, or the video I just did not too while back, I promise I am. I'm just going really slow right now. I'm going to start knocking out those other treasure legends, right? State by state. I'm going to get after it. So that way, if you have a state that you live in, you can hop on my channel. It'll be all fanciful and whatnot, look better than it is right now. I'll try to stay out of the car and more professional or whatever. You can hop on, you'll find your state, you open it up, and bam, right there. All the treasure legends in your state that have the most evidence to them. You know, historical documents, newspaper clippings, how long the legend dates back, blah, blah, so on and so forth. So that is my goal. I got a new computer, so I can actually, you know, share the screen to you guys. So if I'm reading a newspaper clipping, like, I can pull it up and, you know, show it to you while I'm reading it, so you can see it too, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I would like to get this channel growing a little bit, so I can put that effort into that. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, like. Don't forget, you can email me at fenntreasurethoughts@gmail.com, and let your friends know, any like-minded people like to metal detect, treasure hunt, so on and so forth. That's the direction that this channel is going to start taking. So, but I'm going to hop off. It's starting to get a little bit dark around here, and I got to stop for gas soon. But Happy New Year's, everybody. Should have said that at the beginning. Happy New Year's, and yep, that's it. Take it easy.